That hot mess that they air in the mornings called The View had to issue not one, not two, not three, but 4 corrections, legal corrections, 4 legal notes. We only have 3 of them on camera, but look at this. Let's imagine what they did at that debate, where once again, they tried to fact check only one side, and then when their fact checks got fact checked, they cowered. They cowered in fear. I mean, this is a pattern with them.
And by the way, out there, that hat that you keep wearing, that red hat that says "Make America Great Again," that tells people that you go along with this. So you might as well just put a swastika on the hat.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Because we see it anyway.
I'm not going to defend Donald Trump ever, but I would never say that we should put the swastika on the cap, because I think you can hate Donald Trump. You can't hate everybody who likes him. It's half the country. I don't want to live in that country. I don't want to live in the country where I hate half the country, and I don't hate half the country.
How dare you disagree?
Welcome back to AllStarBuzz. Thank you for joining us. Before we start, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We are on our way to 10,000 subscribers. Now, let's begin. Imagine a morning show that claims to represent diverse opinions, yet gets caught not once, not twice, but 4 separate times issuing legal corrections in a single episode.
I want to talk about Whoopi Goldberg because I got so many texts this week because she attacked me the week before.
Sure.
So everybody was like, "Oh, Bill, I get you're enjoying the karma." First of all, I'm going to talk about this at the end of my show next week, teaser. But there is no fucking thing as karma, okay? Get over that. Whoopi attacks me on a regular basis. She says stupid shit on a regular basis. They just happen to coincide.
That's exactly what happened on The View. In what can only be described as a chaotic scramble, the hosts had to backtrack their own claims live on air, desperately trying to patch the holes in their narrative. Only 3 of the legal notes were caught on camera, but insiders confirmed a 4th was quietly tucked into the background.
They're disgusting. She's Anna Navarro in your wildest imagination. You could never solo host a show. You will only ever make it as part of an ensemble, and you could never hope to achieve the success that Tucker Carlson has. So you can sit in your little cheap seats all day long and enjoy your little negative henpecking, but your careers are going nowhere, and Tucker is about to dominate in whatever space he goes to. A hot mess that they air in the mornings called The View had to issue not one, not two, not 3, but 4 corrections, legal corrections, 4 legal notes. We only have 3 of them on camera, but look at this.
I have another legal note.
Oh, my God.
Both Trump and Pam Bondi have denied allegations of a quid pro quo. I have a legal note.
You want to take this one, Joy, or are you
Matt
good?
Gaetz has long denied all allegations and has not been charged with any crime.
That's true.
It wasn't just a minor slip-up, it exposed a pattern. The View fact checks only one side, usually conservatives. And when their facts get fact-checked themselves, the panic sets in. This wasn't a one-time embarrassment. It's a mirror into how the show operates. Corrections were read in awkward tones. Eyes darted around nervously, and the once confident host started visibly unraveling.
The View.
Well,
that's the problem in America. There is one view,
right, and
one
that's clearly
true opinion, and everybody else can go sit in the corner. Can we just understand that part of our sorry racial history in this country is that the point of view from a black person is often going to be very different and sometimes shocking to a white person. I pulled the quote from when Whoopi.
The trust they demand from their audience was shattered live, and the cracks in their credibility were impossible to ignore. This set the stage for something much bigger, because what came next was not just another debate, it was a takedown that left no one wondering who was really in control. But the real eruption came when the conversation turned political, and the View hosts crossed a line that couldn't be ignored.
Donald Trump will be sworn in as the 47th president of the United States, yay, on January 20th of this month. Not everyone's happy about it, and many people would like us to be more focused on the insurrection that he personally unleashed. If you ask them, as we discussed earlier, they think it's as bad as like the Holocaust, and you don't have to take my word for it. Here is Sunny Hostin of The
January
View
6th was an
today.
atrocity. It was one of the worst moments in American history. And when you think about the worst moments in American history, you know, like World War II, things that happened, you know, like the Holocaust, chattel slavery.
Yeah, the January 6th is right up there next to the Holocaust and slavery.
One of the most reckless moments was when they equated wearing a red "Make America Great Again" hat to donning a swastika. No hesitation, no nuance, just an outrageous, inflammatory accusation tossed out like it was casual conversation. That's when Bill Maher stepped in, and he didn't waste a second. He made it crystal clear. He would never defend Donald Trump, but hating half of America because of their political preference was a sickness he refused to accept. In a country where differences of opinion should be a strength, The View had turned it into a weapon. Maher's voice cut through the noise like a blade, reminding everyone that it's possible to despise a political figure without branding millions of people as evil. His words weren't just a defense of civility, they were a call to sanity in a room that had lost all perspective. And this wasn't even the peak of the destruction that was about to come. What happened next wasn't a debate, was a demolition. Bill Maher and Megyn Kelly didn't just challenge The View hosts, they completely dismantled them. It was a masterclass in how to dominate a conversation without even breaking a sweat.
Well, I had a different question, but it struck me that in the first segment you used the term woke, and you said that woke is what was sort of ruining everything. And I know that you're...
No, I didn't say ruining everything. I said that's why Trump could get reelected.
That's why Trump could get reelected.
Yeah.
So the term woke has been, in my view, co-opted by the right and weaponized and bastardized. And so I was surprised to hear you use the term, because historically, as you know, because I think you're quite brilliant, that woke is a word used by the Black community to note that we must be aware of social injustices.
But words
and
migrate.
So why is that a bad thing?
It's not a bad thing, and originally that was absolutely a great thing. Alert to injustice, who's not for that? But words do migrate.
Instead of playing by the show's usual rules of emotional outbursts and shallow buzzwords, Maher and Kelly brought cold, sharp precision. Every weak argument was met with undeniable facts. Every smug comment torn apart with wit sharper than steel. The hosts scrambled to regain footing, but it was like watching rookies go up against heavyweights in a prize fight they had no business stepping into. Sarcasm, logic, and a whole lot of unapologetic truth rained down on that set, and no one could stop it. You could almost feel the air shift as the audience realized who really had control. This wasn't just a battle of personalities. It was a reminder of how devastating it is when real intellect and preparation meet an unprepared, insulated panel. Maher and Kelly didn't just win, they redefined the playing field. And by now, it was clear. The View was about to face even more personal, pointed takedowns. The first major target? None other than Whoopi Goldberg.
Let's talk about what the ladies on The View are saying. It's somewhat stomach-turning, but we have a clip. Let's watch.
Word has just come down that Fox News Media and Tucker Carlson have agreed to part ways. Wave.
They're disgusting. She's Anna Navarro in your wildest imagination. You could never solo host a show. You will only ever make it as part of an ensemble, and you could never hope to achieve the success that Tucker Carlson has. So you can sit in your little cheap seats all day long and enjoy your little negative henpecking, but your careers are going nowhere, and Tucker is about to dominate in whatever space he goes to.
For years, Whoopi has styled herself as the wise elder of The View, the voice of reason, the authority figure who expects everyone to simply accept her opinions as fact. But Bill Maher wasn't having it. He exposed the uncomfortable truth. Whoopi's so-called wisdom was little more than recycled talking points, wrapped in outdated moral posturing. She wasn't offering fresh insight. She was delivering the same tired lines you could hear anywhere else in mainstream media. Maher didn't tiptoe around it. He called out her habit of playing the thoughtful commentator while spouting half-baked opinions that crumbled under any real scrutiny. And the sting was obvious. The room, once so comfortable for Whoopi, suddenly felt a lot colder. Her attempts to project authority now looked like what they were an old routine that no longer fooled anyone paying attention. Maher's brutal honesty cracked the facade wide open. It was no longer just about differences of opinion. It was about showing the stark gap between real analysis and lazy assumptions. And Whoopi wasn't the only one about to be exposed, because Megyn Kelly was waiting in the wings, ready to turn up the heat even higher.
Melania Trump came out and said she's about as pro-choice as they come. And here was the reaction on The View.
I think she hates him.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Okay, so we can all
That's a
agree on
given.
that. That's a given. I also think that she wants to take him out. She does not want to be the first lady anymore.
Would you look? This is a network that still runs out fact checks to these women, like it's concerned about them staying factual. She hates Trump. She doesn't want to be near him. She doesn't want to be president again. She destroyed the Rose Garden, and she hates Christmas. That is what passes for news on a network they did a presidential debate on.
Then came Megyn Kelly, and she didn't waste a second. While Bill Maher used sarcasm and humor to peel back the layers of nonsense, Kelly went for precision strikes direct, brutal, and devastating. Her first targets were Sunny Hostin and Ana Navarro. Sunny, who often presents herself as an expert on race and justice, found herself way out of her depth. Kelly exposed how Sunny loved to speak in buzzwords, but couldn't back up her claims with real knowledge or facts. Years as a lawyer and journalist gave Kelly the advantage of cutting through the noisy end. When she challenged Sunny, the self-righteous attitude quickly gave way to defensive backpedaling. But Kelly wasn't finished. She turned her sights on Ana Navarro, the queen of political opportunism. Navarro loves to preach about political correctness, but Kelly shattered that facade with ease, highlighting the glaring contradictions between what Navarro says and what she actually does. Hypocrisy was the theme of the day, and Kelly dragged it all into the light for everyone to see.
Whoopi Goldberg was angry when Alyssa pointed out that Trump went to the funeral of Officer Diller.
Yes.
On Long Island, and Joe Biden went to a podcast. Look at Whoopi Goldberg's reaction.
Choose what you like there, but for Republicans, it was good imagery.
Really?
One day later, yes.
And I'm asking that because I was so offended because you know who showed up.
In just a few moments, two of The View's loudest voices were left exposed, stripped of their self-satisfied posturing and scrambling for cover. But the storm was still far from over. After dismantling individual hosts, the bigger problem came into focus, the very foundation of The View itself. What Megyn Kelly and Bill Maher exposed wasn't just bad arguments, it was an entire echo chamber disguised as a platform for diverse opinions. The View loves to present itself as a marketplace of ideas, but when the masks were ripped off, it became clear. It was nothing more than a safe space for recycled, politically correct platitudes. Real debate wasn't just missing, it was actively discouraged. Maher pointed out how The View demands absolute conformity, labeling any dissent as dangerous or hateful. The show wasn't built to welcome real dialogue, it was built to reinforce a specific, narrow worldview. And when faced with sharp, fearless critics like Maher and Kelly, the hollowness of it all was undeniable. Every nervous glance, every awkward correction, every shallow talking point crumbled under the weight of real, unapologetic intellect. The myth of The View as a serious forum for discussion was shattered beyond repair. And the hosts, so used to controlling the conversation, were about to find out just how powerless they really were when forced to defend their ideas without the safety of the echo chamber. Next up in the firing line was Joy Behar, and it wasn't pretty. Joy has built her entire career on loud opinions, quick sarcasm, and nervous laughter that fills the gaps where real arguments should be. Bill Maher took one look at her act and tore it apart. He pointed out what everyone watching already knew but rarely said out loud. Joy Behar doesn't challenge ideas, she recycles them. Her entire presence on The View is built on predictable, knee-jerk reactions that never venture outside her carefully protected political bubble. Maher didn't mince words. He called out the intellectual shallowness behind her constant hot takes, comparing it to the depth of a kiddie pool. In that moment, Joy's usual fallback dismissing criticism with a joke or a scoff fell completely flat. There was no witty comeback that could save her. Instead, she stood there, exposed as someone who had gotten comfortable shouting into an echo chamber, never having to defend a real argument under serious pressure. And as Maher moved past Joy and onto even bigger targets, it became clear. The View's strongest voices were being dismantled one by one, and there was still more devastation to come.
Thing has to be for everybody.
Right.
We can have platforms that have stuff on them that not everyone on that platform or who consumes stuff on that platform enjoys. And The View is a particularly weird place to do a cancellation.
It's called The View?
It's called The View. It's not called The Facts.
Yeah, but isn't it interesting that it's called, I mean, I don't think they meant this when Barbara Walters invented it a long time ago, but it's The View.
Well,
that's the problem in America.
But
there is one view,
right, and
one
that's clearly
true opinion, and everybody else can go sit in the corner.
Just when it seemed like Whoopi Goldberg had taken all the hits she could, Megyn Kelly stepped forward and delivered a second, even harsher blow. This time, it wasn't about poking fun at her outdated viewset, it was about tearing apart the core of Whoopi's credibility. Kelly, bringing her full background as a lawyer to the table, dissected Whoopi's public stances on cancel culture and free speech. It wasn't enough to show Whoopi was wrong, Kelly showed she was dangerously out of touch. While Whoopi loved to play the wise elder of The View, Kelly exposed her for what she had become, someone willing to trample the First Amendment when it suited her narrative. Every contradiction, every selective outrage was laid bare. Kelly's critique wasn't emotional, it was clinical, a legal takedown of Whoopi's entire platform. And with every calm, precise argument, the gap between real understanding and hollow moralizing grew wider and wider. Whoopi, who once commanded the table with authority, now looked like someone completely unprepared to defend the very principles she claimed to stand for. The destruction was completed. The View was starting to look less like a talk show and more like the scene of a political and intellectual wreck. By this point, it wasn't just individual hosts being exposed, it was the entire atmosphere of The View collapsing in real time. Bill Maher and Megyn Kelly had shifted the balance of power so completely that the hosts looked less like seasoned commentators and more like high school debate club members who wandered into the wrong tournament. Maher's sarcasm and sharp analysis kept landing blow after blow, while Kelly's cold, fact-driven dismantling left no room for emotional rebuttals. The hosts, so used to controlling the tone and flow of conversation, spent most of the segment scrambling, flailing for some way to get back on top. But there was no saving it. Every attempt at regaining control only made it worse, exposing just how unprepared they were when real intellect entered the room. Maher and Kelly weren't there just to argue, they were there to deliver a lesson in how shallow and fragile the show's version of political discourse really was. The message was unmistakable. When stripped of their carefully scripted talking points, the hosts of The View had almost nothing left. And for the audience, it was a brutal, satisfying reminder that real thinking will always outclass shallow, performative outrage. When the dust finally settled, it was clear. This wasn't just a win for Bill Maher and Megyn Kelly, it was a complete obliteration of everything The View pretends to stand for. What they exposed wasn't just a few weak arguments or sloppy mistakes. They pulled back the curtain on an entire culture of superficial, politically correct noise masquerading as thoughtful discussion. Maher, with his sharp humor and fearless confrontation, and Kelly, with her surgical, fact-driven critiques, showed that real dialogue demands courage, intelligence, and honest qualities that The View simply couldn't match. What remained was a panel of hosts who had spent years congratulating themselves for being brave, while safely repeating whatever the mainstream wanted to hear. Faced with real thinkers, their confidence evaporated, revealing how little true substance was behind their brand. It was a brutal lesson, not just for them, but for every viewer who had been sold the illusion that The View represents real intellectual engagement. Maher and Kelly made one thing unmistakably clear. When you strip away the slogans, the sound bites, and the safe narratives, you're left with a lot of noise and very little truth. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Also, drop your thoughts in the comments. See you on the next one.